Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, a space for spiritual entrepreneurs who refuse to settle for anything less than their purpose. I am your host, Lauren Perlingi. After surviving a near-death experience and being declared gone for 3 minutes, I woke up with a mission to help women turn self-sabotage into self-compassion and fear into fuel. Here, we're going to dive into raw conversations, practical tools, and inspiring stories designed to help you break free from old patterns, claim your voice, and build a business that lights up your soul. If you've ever felt like you don't fit the mold, you're in the right place. This is where Misfits rise into their power. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Perlingi, an intuitive human design business guide, trauma-informed healer, and the creator of the 90-second method, where we help you regulate your nervous system, trust your intuition, and build a business that actually honors your energy. And in today's conversation is one that I know that many of you are going to love. We're going to, of course, talk about human design. But in this episode, I feel like it's going to shift everything for you guys. Today, I'm joined by Ruth. She is the founder of Redesigned and the Inner Queen Method, Authority, and Business Expansion Specialist. I'm so excited to have you here with us. So, Ruth, tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of how, and share a little bit about like what you do and how you help people.
Of course. Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah.
So I am a life coach. I'm a certified life coach, and I do help business owners primarily basically step into their authority and really help expand their business, but using human design. I've been in business for probably around 2 years now, and I've worked with business coach after business coach after business coach, and we will get into it, but I'm a projector. And none of those strategies seemed to work for me, and it made me feel like the failure. So now, really, when I discovered human design, I knew that is what I had to leave my business with. So that is my secret tool to helping women. And I think the authority in the business expansion piece came from. So I've been in finance for 20 years, and I've been a leader for 10 of those. And I'm really, really good at helping people have a voice, improving their confidence. And also I deal with strategy on a day-to-day basis. So I see what you don't see. And that is my human design element. But also I've grown through my finance career. So I'm really good at the business stuff as well. So I'm not a business coach. I don't class myself as a business coach. I am more the holistic other side to business.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you say that you are not like a business coach, because I feel like for me personally, it was so hard for when my first mentor was like, you are a business coach. And I was like, but I'm not. Like, I help people with a lot of the emotional piece of, I mean, I guess in a way, when I look at all of my clients, they're all entrepreneurs. Okay. So, all right. So I guess I am a business coach, but it's kind of like that intuitive sense when it's not like the strict, that toxic business, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
do
think we've all
like,
had enough strategy. Yeah,
yes,
we don't need any more strategy at this point. Unless we're up leveling, we need the stuff that goes alongside the strategy.
right. Yeah. So I know you said that you're a projector. Tell everybody what your profile and your authority is.
Okay, so I am a projector. I'm a line 4/6, and
Okay.
I'm a splenic projector. So I
Oh,
see things, my intuition, but I've had
yeah.
to really lean into that intuition. That has never come naturally. Whereas the
Yeah.
line 4/6, once I realized that, I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. I think that was actually the part of me, other than the energy type, that really like got me into human design and like wanted me to dive even deeper.
Yeah. I love that because I'm a 6'2". So I have that six line as well. You said you're a 4'6", right?
4/6, yes.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I definitely can see that six line. I think
Yeah.
like up until I feel like I was a three line. I still feel like I'm sometimes a three line, but that's kind of like a characteristic of the six, of like you kind of
Uh-huh.
have to be in the three line, and then we switch
Yeah.
into like the six. So yeah, I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so I know that you kind of told us a little bit about where this led you, your work
hmm
leads you, but is there like a moment that you realized like the traditional way that you were doing business wasn't aligned with you? Like what was that moment if you can recall?
So I don't think it was an actual moment, but I started my business, I suppose, as um yeah, it was around 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but I was going through burnout, and I was going through a very severe burnout. Now, a lot of projectors around along us will have been through burnout, and it's almost like a given because we're pushing ourselves against our energy type. So I ended up in really severe burnout. And literally I just shut down. My body said no, I couldn't move. So it was pretty severe and I didn't see it coming. Um, as I was coming out of that, I saw one of those pesky ads on Instagram about life coaching. And I was like, oh my God, this is just like, well, I don't know what called me towards it, but it was a big investment, but I used it as part healing for my burnout journey, but also because I'm so like it is in my blood to help people. And I'd done it so much in my workspace. And I was like, actually, I would love to do this. So I actually started in this industry as a burnout coach. Um, Loved it. However, people don't know they're going through burnout until they're on the other side. And I found it very, very hard to really attach myself to those people and really draw them in. So I kind of, as many of us do, we pivot our business several times until we get to the point where we actually, this feels really good. So I'd pivoted a couple of times. And I think over the couple of years, I've got to the point now where I think we need to learn when we're building a business, we need to do it around something that we're really, really passionate about and we're really good at. So, whilst I was really good at recovering from burnout, I had moved past that journey, I think. And I would not dream of anybody going through burnout and I would help them. But now my business very much, I've kind of pivoted to the point where I want to prevent others going through burnout. So when you are in your authority and you are, using your design and your profile and everything in your human design, I do feel like you're less likely to burn out once you are aligned. So it's kind of it has gone down that same track, but I've kind of moved away from burnout just because I think it is really, really difficult to help somebody when they're in the midst of burnout. Um, so that's where I've ended up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so when you said about people don't realize that you're not the only person that had said that. There's another girl that I know that she said she's like, I help burned out high performers. And I'm like, so my
Yeah.
question was how, like, I'm just looking at my own burnout and my own
Mhm.
experience. Like, I didn't know until I actually physically went to my therapist, my doctor and like all my symptoms and like they were like, "Oh, you're literally like I'm talking like blood levels, I'm talking everything." Like was just like my liver enzymes, my kidney, like everything was just so out of whack and I was like, I feel like I'm dying. That's literally what I could like
Yeah.
I've had near death experiences and it wasn't that. It literally felt like if I don't change something, like I'm going to die. Like that's just how it was. But I can't say that I knew what was happening when I couldn't say like if I went on to social media, I can't say, "Oh, I know I'm burning out, so like I need to go find a burnout coach." So I do love that you did that
Yeah.
pivot. However, I feel like people are probably just drawn to you because of, you. But if somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my God, that's me. Like, what are some of the things that you've noticed that you can kind of tell the listeners that, like, if this is you, you need to either come work with you or figure out, like, I need to do something different.
Yeah. I think to start with, there are different stages of burnout. And when I went down a rabbit hole when I was in that burnout stage, I was like, I don't know what was wrong with me. Like you feel like you're dying. You're literally dying. And I had palpitations. And a funny story that I actually went to A&E, which is the emergency room, 3 times. And on the third time, they were like, "Will you stop coming? There's nothing wrong with you." Because tangibly, there is nothing wrong with me. It is, I am still healthy. There's just a lot going on with everything, the levels that you said. So that kind of, I was at stage 5. I was at the worst thing. But I think at that point, all you can do is get medical intervention. Now, I'm not going to spiel off medical advice here because I'm not, um, I'm not a medical practitioner. However, if you are, you're suffering with the palpitations and you're really just exhausted as soon as you wake up and you've got brain fog and you're snapping at everybody and I just need to get over this period right now and then it'll all calm down. It never calms down. And if you find yourself repeating the
Yeah.
same things, you find yourself withdrawing from everybody, that's when you need intervention. So I think that is the burnout stage that I knew I couldn't help. Whereas if you back up a few stages, if you see yourself going down that path, but actually you're still relatively healthy, you still have somewhat of a social life, because I think when you're in burnout, social life, relationships doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think if you are halfway towards that, then I can certainly intervene at that point and we can really put things in place at that point because it's a lot easier to, I suppose, intervene and change and rewire your brain at that point. And even with the human design thing, because like, as a projector, I knew my energy levels, they're not sustainable to be doing 12, 13-hour days, which is what I was doing in my finance role. And I think anybody, even generators, should not be doing 12 to 13 hours, like in one stretch.
Yeah.
However, we are built differently. So that's where I like to see if I am working with a projector or a manifestor or a reflector, the non-sacrals, we do try and look at the energy to make sure that they don't get to that, that stage 5 of burnout because it's much harder to come back from the further you get into burnout. So if you do notice the signs, I would urge people to really either seek medical help. They might be able to tell you, where you are. But there are coaches like me who have witnessed burnout properly, and they can really help you and stop you in your tracks to prevent it going even more um, deeper.
Yeah, I was gonna say the part that you said witness, because I feel like a lot of people that I talk to, they were never witnessed to be like where they are. And then that kind of shifts people into this like, nobody believes me, and this is how I feel. And I also feel like burnout um is like a buzzword kind of like just like manifestation of like, oh, I'm burnt out.
Yes.
And it's like the people that have felt burnout, you don't
Yes.
even say I'm burnt out when you're burnt out, you know? So it's kind of like, it's kind of like that type of energy too. And would you agree, like, talking about like the different types of burnout, would you agree like it's like that hustle burnout and that misalignment burnout versus the, level 5 that you experience?
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't even know what level mine was. I don't want to say it was level 5. It felt like that, like end, like
Mm.
stop. I mean, I've done it a couple times, and then, but that was like the when I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, if I
Mm.
go one more day like this, I am not gonna wake up, kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it was, yeah, I do say that same thing. I'm not telling people to get medical advice, but I am saying that sometimes we need Western medicine to help us. Holistic and
Correct.
Western together, helped me and like like talk therapy and healing and all of it together, I feel like really helped. So if you're in that place and you're
Yeah.
listening, please make sure you go consult your doctor
Agreed.
first.
Agreed. Agreed.
Um,
I,
but if you're in the first, like let's just call it like first or second types of burnout, um, can you kind of talk a little bit about, so if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, so like I'm not level 5, so I'm not there yet.
mhm,
But
mhm.
like we talk a lot about like the hustle burnout or misalignment. What are some of those symptoms that people would see or feel?
So I went through burnout again 2 years later. I thought I'd learned my
Okay.
lesson. I clearly hadn't.
Yeah.
However, it was a very different type of burnout. So where I just referred to the first one as like I literally hit rock bottom. So I was around stage 5. The
Yeah.
second burnout, I did not see coming. So put that people pleasing. I put the people pleasing to bed. I set up boundaries. So I started a new job. Once I came out of Burnout One, I knew it was the environment I came out of. So then I went into a new job, all these new boundaries, and I didn't put my hand up to say, oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
However, I found myself in a place where I was being micromanaged. I wasn't I wasn't allowed
Mhm.
to use my strengths to I mean, I was literally working it was the same job, just in a different place, the same like level. And yeah, I wasn't allowed to kind of do my own thing. I wasn't allowed to use my skills. And I find it was almost the passion that I had for finance had disappeared. And I think this is where I can relate it to business is if you're in a business where you actually set up and you had this huge dream to set up this just it was your passion to set up a business and you find yourself in a place where you're not enjoying it and you're just exhausted every day. So you're not like, you can still keep going. You're not really ill and you do still have, social life that I mentioned. I think when you're in that stage, it's just making sure that you do give yourself a break because I think this is where my side of like my framework comes in. I want people to have joy alongside their business. And I don't want them to wake up exhausted because why quit? I mean, many of us quit 9 to 5s to, start this whole business dream. And we see it online and we're like, we're promised these 10K months and,
Yeah.
but actually that can come at a cost.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself literally giving up your life, maybe like you had in your 9 to 5 to run this business, then you're not aligned. In my opinion, you need to be building a business where you're not on 24/7. You do have boundaries and you are excited. I get there will be parts of the business that are not that exciting, but for the most
Right.
part, if you are at that point where you're turning down social plans because you just need to get your landing page done or you've lost that spark in your relationship, it's just really figuring out that point and you have to notice it yourself. And this is where I really want to advocate for only you can help yourself. Only you can save yourself. So you've got to stop. You've really got to spot those signs yourself. That things just aren't right. Even if it's just one thing that's niggling at you that you've just been saying over and over, you'll fix it, you'll sort it. That's generally where it starts creeping in, and that's where I feel that you can intervene and make changes.
And if this episode is bringing something up for you, especially around relationships, people pleasing, overgiving, emotional triggers, or repeating the same patterns, I want you to grab my ebook. This ebook will help you start seeing the subconscious patterns that have been running your life, your relationships, and your reactions, so that you can finally release what no longer feels aligned. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about understanding yourself, regulating your nervous system, and choosing different from a place of self-trust. If you're ready to stop repeating the same cycles and come back home to yourself, grab my ebook. The link is below in the show notes. Yeah, that is very, thank you for that. Because I think that that is often, I feel like the answer that people are looking for and don't even realize it, right?
Yeah.
Now you say about business, and I want to talk a little bit about strategy and some I'm like myth busters for
Hmm.
strategy. So why do you feel, or just through your experience, why do people believe that like business strategies are like a one size fits all? And why do most people get it wrong when they try to follow that one thing that was like, this is going to make you 10K months, like, and it doesn't, and it just like flops? Why do you think?
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this question.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish I'd known this 2 years ago when I invested
Same.
all that money into business coaching.
Yeah.
Um, it, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think we are in an unregulated industry.
Right.
Um, and as coaches, we want to sign those clients because if we sign those clients, then it makes us look like, we are successful. And that means signing anybody. Now, I've been in containers where I've had some brilliant coaches. Hands down, I've learned so much from them. I've not excelled like my peers have, but I've learned a lot. And then I've been in other containers where they clearly didn't understand me and what I wanted to get from the container. So I went through those containers thinking, you're not listening to me. You're not saying, like, every time when I couldn't keep up with everybody else, I was almost getting criticized, but they didn't care because they'd got a sale. But I think when you don't understand human design, very much, if you've not grown up in a leadership role or like maybe a management role, and you understand that actually we all have different personalities, um, it's very hard to see, well, if I've excelled at something, why can't you just follow exactly what I've done and do the
Right.
exact same thing? But this is one of the things that I really pride myself on is I realized that we're all different. Even before I learned human design, I realized we're all built differently. We all think differently. Um, and we've almost got to give ourselves patience if other people around us don't follow that same pattern. And I think everybody notices if, if you are a manager or a leader or you have a team, whether you're in a 9 to 5 or a business, you might get impatient and you might be thinking, well, something's common sense to you, but actually to somebody else, you might be thinking they're stupid, and actually they're not stupid. It's just purely because their brain is built differently. And I wish more people knew that. And for me, that's what takes a true leader, because you really appreciate, whether you know human design or whether you don't, you really appreciate that we're all built differently. I think for me, human design is just the science behind it, and
Yeah.
it can help you just go a little bit deeper. um but I think, yeah, just going back to the point, I kind of wish we weren't all in it. I mean, actually, no, we're not all in it for the money. A lot of us, quite rightly, are in it for the passion and the impact, whereas there are some coaches that are just there for the money, and it's how much I sold in, this week. And for me, that's not one of my values. Um, and that would probably put me off somebody. I'm there for the impact. But I think for me, I just really want whoever I work with now to understand who I am and how I work, before I invest in anybody else.
Yeah, and I love that you say that too, especially because a lot of people now, especially like what's going on in the universe now, that it's like some of those business coaches or entrepreneurs that like were just in it 2020, 2021, just for the money, quick, easy, you can make this. And like that's always so like I, and I'm saying this with so much love, but when I first started, it was like I wanted to start and just like give everything away for free, which I still do give so much away for free. However, you start to realize that in order to build a 6 figure, 7 figure business, like you also have to pay and invest a lot of money into it. And I think specifically one of my coaches that I spent a lot of money on was not clear and was not honest about all of the stuff that she paid for. And she just kept saying, "Oh, I made $10,000. I made this, I made that." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like, you're going to help me do it too." And like, that was the promise.
Mhm.
And it didn't happen. Granted, I learned a lot of lessons. I met a lot of great people, but it's like, ugh, why do I have to keep learning? Like in my mind, I see patterns and I'm really good at like seeing my own patterns along with
Mhm.
everybody else's. So that's where I can come in and be like, you're doing this. Just like I was starting to create an ebook about people are like, one of my clients was like, can you do something on relationships? And I'm like, sure, I love talking about relationships, especially with yourself. So I named the ebook Why You Keep Attracting This the same, it was like something about I just typed it out. I was like something along the lines of like why you keep attracting the same partner just in a different meat suit. And like people are like, "Oh my God."
I
Like
love it.
and then like the semi hashtag or the subtitle was why you keep having karmic returns, because like that's what it is. And like people are like, "Oh my God, I can't wait." Like I've just started, like I literally just started last week. But I was like, that is something that I like as people are like sell digital products, and I was like, that's something that I'm passionate about talking about, that I could sell and help people, right?
Hmm.
And so it's just very interesting that when we talk about like strategy and like the real reason why it fails is because there's so much actually underneath the surface. And then like when these sparkly coaches are like, "Oh, come work with me, you're gonna make this much money," and then you get in their containers and you're like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah.
what? Another lesson? I'm like,
Yeah.
Christ. Like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that that's really, and then now people don't want to invest because of
Hmm.
all that shit that happened for the last like 4 years or whatever,
Yeah.
5 years, like since
Yeah.
2020.
For sure.
It's just not how you market anymore. And I love that it's more about authentic and people are like, "Oh, I'm authentic." And I'm like, not
Yeah.
always, like
But is that you? Like,
yeah,
if I say I'm authentic, authentic, is that you really you, or are you
yeah,
putting on, another face to get another
right,
sale? Um, and
right,
I think like you, I've had the lessons. I've worked with several coaches, and now I see the pattern. Like, what are
yeah,
you doing to try and get me in your container? And
mhm,
I'm very, very more. I'm very selective now and a lot more intentional about who I work with. And I think as we're going through this new era as well, is people want authenticity. You can't just be showing up saying, I've made this much money, I've made this much money. People want to see how you've made it. Um, because like you said, we've all been burned from like thousands. I mean, I've got into a lot of debt because of it.
yeah,
Um, and I think it's like us all. But it's, yeah, I think the more authentic you are, and I think some of us have forgotten who we are. And I think that I always say to people, that's what human design gives you. It's like your permission slip to come back out of yourself. If you're not the loudest online, I'm not the loudest online. I don't want to be.
right,
But is it the loud people that are getting the sales? So I think it's just giving yourself the permission slip, and more people will want that. So if
right,
I'm this quiet person online, yes, I'm showing up as me and magnetizing these clients,
yeah.
but I'm me. And I think that's what more people need now.
Yeah. I think that's a really powerful like statement about like you're you. And I feel like that, when people talk about avatars and people who talk about their own authority and it's like I don't know. I just am me. And if you like me, go listen to my podcast. Like for me, I'm like, I'm not going to try to sell you something. Go listen to my podcast. Tell me if you like my
Yes,
energy. Like I
love
give a
it.
lot of my energy to my podcasts. Like go listen to my YouTube. Like that is who I am. You're
Yeah.
going to either
And you
like
can't
me or
fake
not.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can fake that either, which I think I love. And I have heard like a lot of long form content is now coming back in fashion,
Yeah.
in trend,
Yeah.
because that's when you get to know people for who they really are, and what they stand for, and what their values are.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love it. I will be the one sitting there listening to a 10-minute video about somebody talking about their life. And here I'm just like
Yes.
still sitting there listening. Because like that, I like that. Because like, you
Yeah.
have like these 30-second like clips of people's like life. And it's just like, I want to know more. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
that is the intro of like, come learn more. But
Hmm.
yeah, I do love that. Now, speaking about a little bit about like a human design and authority and like throat activation and voice activation.
Hmm.
When you're like helping people like stop feeling like, let's just say, like watered down versions of themselves, like hiding
Yeah.
behind a mask, what does that actually look like in real life or in business?
In terms of how they show up or how I show up.
How they how you would help them identify their voice activation
Hmm.
or their identity.
Hmm.
Like they
So I think this
identify
is
as this person, but like what does it really look like through working with you as like real life business or um yeah, real
okay.
life or business.
So this is, I think throat is actually one of my favorite energy centers within the body graph chart, because when I notice I've got a defined throat, and you might be able to tell that from the way I speak today. But that was when I noticed that in my chart. I'm very confident in my finance role. I can speak to a room of 100 people more. And I'm very confident in the way I speak. Now, I'm also an introvert as well. So some people think, well, how are you speaking so confidently? Um, but that is my throat defined center that is talking for me, that I know how to express myself. I know how to speak about something that I know about. I think way back in the beginning, when I started becoming a coach, I was probably more timid because I wasn't confident in what I was saying. But I think this is just an example of when you are in alignment with your design. Like, I can talk about human design all day, every day. Like, just put me in a room and I'll just talk about it. Whereas so when I've worked with clients and looked at both defined and undefined, I think it's really interesting because for the undefined people, you almost want to give them that permission that they don't have to speak up all the time. I was in a membership call last week, and one of the ladies was like, she was in some kind of sharing circle, and she actually didn't want to speak up and say something. Um, and whilst everybody else felt the pressure to say something, she actually sat back and was like, no, actually, I'm not going to say something. And she had an undefined throat. And for me, I literally said that is the definition of you being in alignment with your design, because you didn't feel the pressure to have to say anything, even though everybody else was. And that actually touched me. And I was like, that gave me goosebumps because, you know, in a world where we are conditioned to show up on Instagram 7 days a week, or, posting stories, if you don't have a defined throat and you're feeling that pressure, it's not going to feel good to you. And then people are going to see something in you that is not actually you because you're not showing up as yourself. So I really strip it back and just think, if somebody, say, does have an undefined throat, how do you feel pressure when you're in certain different environments? And how would you show up, not feeling that pressure, only speaking if you feel like you did have something to say?
Yeah.
Conversely, with defined throws, like me, for example, I there are some people out there that talk for the sake of talking. Now, to me, that's not in alignment either. Like, just
Yeah.
because you've got a voice doesn't mean you need to use it all the time.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really, in different environments, I think, impact different people in different ways. So I strip all the energy centers back and we look at defined and undefined. I think
Yeah.
certainly undefined because of the shadows that hide behind it. Um,
Yeah.
and as a projector, I see things that you're probably missing. When you put yourself in a room and I spot something, I am going to call you out on it with love, of course.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's why I love the throat sense, because as business owners, we need our throat. We need to be able to sell our products and our services. But I think you can only do that when you're aligned with your voice, because otherwise, people are going to learn a version of you that isn't actually you.
Yeah. And I love me and another girl also collab on human design stuff, and she said, I love the throat center. And I was like, me too. It's like the one thing I think I worked so much on my throat. And I also, it was a reminder that maybe I was speaking um I had like lost my voice. It was interesting. I lost my voice like 2 days ago, and like I couldn't talk, but like I didn't feel like I needed to talk. Now also have a defined throat. So like sometimes I also feel like just because I have a defined throat doesn't necessarily mean that like I feel the pressure, but like I'm like I don't want to say anything. It's kind of like
Mm.
you weigh, is it worth talking about? Now, of course, I need my voice to do my podcast, but it's just like interesting how the universe is like, sit down, Lauren. You don't have to talk all the time. So, yeah. Um, can you kind of talk a little bit about authority and what it means to be in your authority?
Oh, yes, I love this. I think authority means different things to different people. Um, I think being in your authority means you show up as yourself, not trying to be somebody else.
Yeah.
You're really confident in, I suppose, the decisions that you make. You don't overthink things. You don't necessarily need to show up as the loudest person, like I said before, because I think often there is something out there that people only think you're an authority if you are the loudest in the room. But I think for me, when you're an authority, you're very certain about what you're saying, and it's not like you're looking down on people. I do think I would advocate for people. We're all, we're all the same level. We all speak to people like we're humans. But when you start speaking down to somebody, I have definitely seen that in my finance career and probably online to a degree. And sometimes it can be patronizing. Whereas I think authority is definitely respecting others as well. But it's just, I think it's being confident with who you are. Um, and you're in alignment with what you're about, like your integrity and your values as well. So I think it is very different for different people. But I think when we bring in human design, again, authority means something else. It's the way you make decisions. But again, that comes back to being certain about the decisions you make, not overthinking everything, not second guessing yourself. So that's probably where I would go with that.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think that there's a lot of information out there about authority. And it's like, if I don't know, I'm sure you're the same, but like for me, when people ask me different things about their chart, I'm like, if you are not in alignment with your energy type, authority, or strategy, nothing else in human design matters. Like you have to start there first. So like when they ask me a question, I'm like, go back to your authority, go back to your strategy, because like that's what matters.
Yes,
Yeah.
100% agree with that.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. What is like one nugget of wisdom that you can share with the listeners?
Oh, I think in at the moment, the world is very noisy and chaotic, and we have been conditioned to probably put ourselves in a box um, and keep up with everybody else. I would really like people to give themselves a permission slip to show up as themselves, because certainly when I was trying to be somebody else, I wasn't selling my products as well as I could have been. But when I've really realized, when I show up as myself, my magnetized self, that's when I really draw my ideal clients in. So I think it's just give yourself a permission slip to be who you are, not a copy and paste version of somebody else.
Yeah. Yes, I love that so much. Now, where can everybody find you?
I am primarily on Instagram, so at I am Ruth Mani. I do a lot of networking as well, but I think because I'm in the UK, you probably won't find a lot of listeners over in the UK. But yeah, I'm primarily on Instagram. I do have a website as well. It's www.ruthmanicoaching.com. I've got a couple of freebies on there. I've also got a secret podcast coming out in a couple of
Yay.
weeks on why I think every business owner needs human design in their life. Just for them, not just for them, but for their clients as well. So, like I said, understanding who their clients are. And I think it would just make everybody a better leader when they understand human design, even like the energy, the profile, the authority, the strategy, even if it's just the very top level stuff.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. So thank you again for sharing, for being here with us and sharing all of your wisdom.
Thank
Um,
you.
and yes, make sure I'll put all of your links below. Make sure you go check her out on Instagram and go check out her website. And if you're ready to dive deeper into a community, I invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. And the links below will be for that. Joey's gonna have to cut out all of my coughing. Oh my God. Okay. So, yes, so links below will be for the Enlightened Misfit Sisterhood to join us. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next week. If today's episode spoke to you and you're ready to rise with support, I'd love to invite you in to the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood, a sacred community for spiritual entrepreneurs to heal, grow, and lead with purpose. You can join us by using the link below in the show notes,
or connecting with me over on Facebook or Instagram at The Mermaid Life. If you loved today's episode, subscribe, share, and leave a review. This helps support us reach more women who are ready to rise. Remember, your journey isn't about fitting in. It's about embracing the truth of who you are. Until next time, stay inspired, stay aligned, and keep creating your extraordinary path. This is Lauren, and you've been listening to the Enlightened Misfits podcast.